I Still Know What You Did Last Summer picks up 1 year after the events of the first film, as this kind of movie invariably does. We find Julie, played once again by Jennifer Love-Hewitt, trying to hold her life together as she navigates the pressures of college, as well as a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend Ray, played once again by Freddie Prinze Jr. And all this whilst coping with constant nightmares featuring serial killer Ben Willis, aka the Fisherman. Things start to look up when she heads off to a tropical island in the Bahamas with her friends, only to have the rug pulled from under her as the Fisherman returns to wreak death and destruction to the island's inhabitants. It's worth noting that this film not only came out just 1 year after the first film, but it did so without Kevin Williamson on script duty and without the original film's director, Jim Gillespie. So one can't help but think this was all something of a rush job by the studio to get another film out as quickly as possible. Now that doesn't mean that director Danny Cannon doesn't do a decent job on the visuals, but I also doubt that he was anything more than a director for hire, as opposed to someone making a film because their passion for the project was overwhelmingly personal. I know the term director for hire can sound pretty derogatory, but it's really not. It simply refers to a director who is brought in because they have the skill and competence to get what the studio needs in the time that they need it for the budget that they've assigned. In that respect, Cannon does a good job with it. Unfortunately, it's not enough to hide the cash grab mentality by the studio that brought this film into being. It has a screenplay that feels like it was written over a weekend, then some studio exec somewhere said, yep, that'll do. All of the characters act like either childish spoilt brats or horny dogs that swallowed Viagra whilst in heat. Ray acts like a mega emo child punk who seemingly does all that he can to drive away the love of his life in one scene, before talking about proposing marriage with lovesick, dewy eyes in the next. The guy comes off as a super unlikable, gaslighting prick when we're first reintroduced to him. It's like, bro, you were there in the first film. You saw what your girlfriend went through. Why are you being such a dick? Of course, this is all just a plot device to drive an emotional wedge between our heroes so that a new love interest and potential rival can be brought in as part of the story. But it's the laziest way of introducing that element that just makes me dislike all the characters involved. I dislike Ray because he's being a dick about it. I dislike Julie because she starts beating herself up about it as if she's somehow to blame. I dislike the new love interest because he's so over the top sappy that it makes him the most obvious choice for a Scream-style killer reveal. And I dislike Julie's new college friends for trying to damn hard to push her into the arms of another man to begin with. And whether or not Julie ends up with either one of these two men seems to be the only thing that she talks about throughout this entire movie. Hewitt's cleavage does most of the acting in this film, a film that features the most generic collection of characters, aka cannon fodder, that you are ever likely to find. Whether it's Jack Black's creepy stoner pervert, Jennifer Esposito's tough barmaid who looks like she walks straight off the set of Coyote Ugly, or Jeffrey Combs' grumpy-ass site manager. Combs is actually a small ray of light in this film, if I'm being honest. He's so often the best thing in whatever he's in that it's no different here, with perhaps the exception being Hewitt's aforementioned cleavage. This is literally one of the most paint-by-numbers slasher movies ever. There are so many jump scares just within the first 20 minutes, it's tiresome. Then there are seemingly endless scenes of stupidity in which stupid people just act stupid. Whether it's nobody batting an eyelid at the fact that a guy in a slicker and a fisherman's hat is just standing around in a nightclub, Julie shutting herself in a sunbed with her earphones on when she knows there's a killer on site who could creep up on her at any moment, or Julie's best friend Carla walking across panes of glass on the roof of a conservatory instead of stepping on the wooden frames. Like, the women in this film are the dumbest broads ever. At one point, our four leads are all together, but they decide to split up, boys separate from girls, because it's supposedly safer if the girls wait in the lobby. Safer for who? The film tries to ape the bizarrely iconic moment from the first film. You know, the one where Julie's like, oh, what are you waiting for? Well, yeah. They have her sticking out her arms out wide once more, shouting to the heavens whilst looking down from an aerial shot. It all kind of feels a bit cringe just because it's such an obvious attempt to replay an over-the-top emotional beat from the first film that never should have been given iconic status to begin with. The scene, that is, not the film, as I do actually quite like the first movie. Anyway, by the time we get to the final confrontation with the Fisherman, which features, as I've already stated, a totally obvious killer reveal, as well as a chance for Ray to redeem himself, I've all but checked out. I'm just not interested. They simply don't do enough to make me care, and by the time they give us the obligatory stinger that sets up the prospect of a third movie, providing it ain't just yet another nightmare on Julie's part, I'm all but praying for this franchise to be dead and buried. But of course, we know it isn't, because there was indeed already a third direct-to-DVD film that I do remember being one of the most excruciating experiences of my life, as well as the soon-to-be-released actual third film. My hope is that the new movie can recapture some of the magic of the first film, but we'll see, I guess. Anyway, that's my thoughts on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but what about you? What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know down in the comments section below, and if you haven't done so already, don't forget to smash that like button, click subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you never miss out on content from this channel. But for now, thanks for watching, and until next time, crack in.